Kind of staying along or side around this topic, specifically as it relates to the tech industry, which is, kind of the area that we're all familiar with. You touched on some interesting things there, and it got me thinking about kind of the something I've heard you talk about before, Shanae, is the gap between, underserved populations or minorities and the tech industry. And I'd love to hear from you where you think that, or how you think we can provide more opportunities to these communities and bridge that gap between tech and these underserved communities, and also provide, more education and enablement so that as people kind of gain an interest or start coming into tech, that maybe there isn't such a big knowledge gap, right? You talked earlier about not knowing certain things until you started in this field. Like, where can we be doing better? What are the opportunities there, you think?
Yeah, so I want to start with first what we are doing well, some of the areas where we're doing really good at. And that is, so my husband is like the biggest person to see people for them, not for what they look like. And he 100% taught me how to do that just by looking at him. His mentor is a white dude. And I love it because it's not a matter, it doesn't, when you're a Black man and your mentor doesn't look like you or is a white guy, it can look like we are still considered below, but that's not the case in this duo. In this duo, they're teaching each other. And so I've gotten the chance, his name is Ken, and I've gotten the chance to get to know Ken and get to know who he is as a person, and to really get to see just some of the things that he's taught my husband. And so what I love and what I think we're doing right is while I'm always an advocate for the underserved populations and the minority communities, I do recognize that it's not everybody that wants to see us fail. It's not everybody. There are many people that want to be allies and that want to teach and all of that. So it goes back to one of my earlier points about having early access to certain things. And so I just recently attended the NSBE conference at the end of March, and I started to see even some younger Black children who attended the conference and who are getting into STEM and all of that. I think when you have conferences like that and you get that information into middle schools and high schools and start putting that into the curriculum, it makes a big difference. So one of my good friends, she's a teacher, a high school teacher at Hillside High School in Durham County Public Schools. And so she invited me to be a guest speaker to one of her English classes. And I literally just did a rough draft of like an engineer, like salary package for him, just kind of an example of what an engineer could possibly make, or a PM or whatever, if you wanted to get into tech. And so after, like literally as I was putting the numbers together and coming up with like a rough draft or a test resume and all of that of what we do as recruiters, one of the things I saw was that their eyes lit up. When I started talking about the money and the longevity, not the big bucks of what they can make short term, but the longevity of what matters along, down the road, their eyes lit up. And so I said to myself, if we had more of this information in public school systems, not just in private school, but in public school systems, then we could be with the curve. But there are times that I can see the difference when I'm looking at, if I'm asking for salary expectations, or I'm asking and I'm just having random conversations with people on a Saturday morning, I can 100% tell the difference of when people got access to what information. And so I think if we have early access, then just same thing with early detection. If we have early access, then we can get ahead of the curve.
Yeah, that's great. It's almost like instilling a mindset, right? Earlier on. And I think there's a lot of studies that back that up, that how we're raised and how we view ourselves in the world from an early age determines a lot of our behaviors and how we approach things. So yeah. I think that really resonates with me.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to add as we kind of wrap up is I think it's really important that, you know, Shanae, you're obviously doing it. You're a role model for many people in your community and other communities. I think it's important for people to overcome that fear. Perhaps not everyone is an extrovert. Not everyone is a born speaker or motivational speaker. But if you've you know found some sliver of success in your career, it's important for you to advocate and speak up for your community, and for all communities. Speak up. Life is hard.
Yeah.
You know, the three of us live on LinkedIn, and you know we see it. Our inboxes are full up with, you know, I've got every community imaginable represented in my inbox, and people just struggling.
Same.
And right, and I think it's really important that, yes, a lot of people will find Shanae inspiring, Andrew inspiring, perhaps myself, but it's definitely important for those people out there that perhaps haven't stepped forward to do that, and to be a voice for others. Alrighty. Shanae, before we wrap up, is there any last thoughts, words of wisdom you would like to share? No pressure,
Sure.
but if there's anything left on your mind.
So the one thing that I think is really important for people to understand, no matter what you look like, no matter where you come from, is to please, and a lot of people, they want to know why recruiters ghost people. They want to know why recruiters don't respond. And I literally post things ad nauseum answering those questions. And there are times when I literally just have to blatantly say, it depends on how you approach this in your DM. If you message me and I can tell you ain't do not one bit of research, why are we having a conversation? You ain't even started. And so to one person that sounds harsh, to another person that sounds like, yeah, why would you expect the recipient to do that research for you? And so I would 100% say, please do your research. Like, I'm sure y'all hear us say that all the time. I'm sure, because we all say it. But it is so important to do your research. It's so important that if you message Daryl and you are asking about a position that you clearly could see that Daryl does not recruit for because it is on his profile of what he recruits for, then I'm sure it is literally like the fact that we get so many messages on LinkedIn and we have to constantly answer those questions. It literally not only tires us out, but by the time we get to people who actually did their research, we won't feel like answering no more questions. Yeah. So it's literally, when people do that, they are blocking people who actually did the work. So I will 100% say, do your research. The second thing I would say is the job market is extremely saturated with a bunch of people who don't have jobs, whether they have been let go for whatever reason, whether they've been laid off for whatever reason, whether they have resigned for whatever reason. All of you are in a place where you are in competition with one another. And what I mean by that is it's because all of you are literally vying for the same position. So please understand that the job search may take you a little bit more time than you would have liked, because there are hundreds of thousands of people who are currently in the job market with you. So I am a person who 100% says if the only time you fail is when you give up. So please don't give up, y'all. I literally was a candidate for 4 years, and I can't tell you how frustrated I was every single day. But just know that all you need is one yes. All you need is that literally that one yes will snowball into so many different yeses that it ain't even funny. So just know that, just stay diligent, just stay focused. And I know that sounds cliche, but it is absolutely true. And if you have a spiritual side to yourself, if you need to meditate, you need to pray, you need to call on whatever higher power that centers you, then do that. Share your good days, share your bad days, share your indifferent days. Be honest with yourself about this process, because it is tearing at people's mental health, and we want to make sure your mental health is first and foremost. Y'all are literally listening to someone who deals in seasonal depression. The winter months are very difficult for me, and I have random days where I am not feeling it, whether I post or not, whether you can tell or not. There are many days where my husband will look at me and go, "Where are you?" And so and he sometimes has to bring me back. So understand that the same people who are influencing you, we also have to take time to make sure we're okay too. So just know that the same processes you go through are the same processes we have to go through, and understand that it will be okay. Just keep going.
Shanae, that's beautiful.
What a way to end. What a way to end.
What a way to end. And whenever I am a little down, I go to your page and I find you've put up a video of you dancing and showing us your moves, and that's the trick. So thanks for joining us, and we'll wrap it up there.
Thank you guys so much for having me.